Auckland's grim CV update from the other day. A new report released by property analytics company Cotality says house values are on the rise across a growing number of suburbs. Ray White's CEO Daniel Coulson is with us this morning. Daniel, good morning.
Morning.
Good to see you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Where are we talking? Because I mean the CV thing, let's just forget about that because it doesn't mean anything, right?
Correct. Completely agree.
Okay.
Disregard.
All right, well, let's move on to something more interesting then. What is this report telling us?
Well, I think the report's telling us what we've probably known for some time is that when market changes occur, it affects different types of property quite differently. We saw obviously when we came off the peak of the market that residential houses were probably the last into the downturn. Apartments were probably the first into the downturn. No surprise when we come out the other side that we see a similar thing occurring. And townhouses almost fit in that patch in the middle, where you've got a more concentrated buyer pool for residential standalone homes. You've got more people that are looking for those sorts of properties. So naturally, they're going to be the first out when things start to recover. Townhouses are going to follow, and apartments probably after that.
Because the houses are more affordable, I suppose there'd be more people who could potentially get them on the way up and on the way out.
Yeah, well, I think it's fair to say that not everybody wants a standalone home on a big section. Not everybody wants a townhouse, but normally speaking, you would have a wider buyer pool, if you like, for people that are looking for a residential home on a big section. When prices start to increase, when affordability starts to decrease, people have to start to compromise, right? So if you can't buy the big house on the big section, you've got to go a smaller house on a smaller section. If you can't get that, then you go to the apartment. And so naturally you see the buyer pool flow to those other property types later on as property prices start recovering.
Are we seeing, because such a large proportion, particularly in central Auckland's population, is migrants who aren't necessarily used to or keen to have, you know, big sections with grass out the back and trees and stuff like that to maintain. Have you noticed any change with the demographics in Auckland to the desirability of apartments and townhouses and the like?
Absolutely, and I think you just look at some of the central suburbs now, whether it's St Mary's Bay, Ponsonby, Freeman's Bay, Parnell, in these central areas where you're actually seeing very high value apartments now. That's somewhat of a new phenomenon for Auckland and New Zealand. People now getting out of the big homes and moving into those apartments. But when you look at those that are moving to New Zealand as well, that might have a different experience where they've come from, they're looking for a similar type of property from what they've been in. Yes, but then you get into the question of migration, right? And we all know that that's not exactly booming at the moment either.
Yeah, true. Right, let's have a look. Did you bring a house for us to look at today?
I think somebody sent one. Yeah,
I hope we've got one.
Be one to have a look at.
Do we have one? Oh, 231 Garnet Road, I'm being told. Let's have a look. Have you got the rundown for us? What are we looking at here?
This is a pretty special property actually, right down on the waterfront in Westmere. Fabulous home. I mean, you can see the quality of it. Beautifully presented, right there in the heart of Westmere. This is proudly marketed by our team from the Ray White Point Chev office, and pretty special sort of property.
Stunning house, and you'd be just down the road from the Mowbrays at that address.
Possibly not far.
Close by?
Possibly not far, but my preference is the fact that you're actually quite close to BB's Bakery. Pretty good pie there on a Saturday.
You actually have to, I was there on last Saturday, you have to line up to get in.
Yes.
But the pies are worth it.
They're pretty good.
Yeah. Hey, thanks very much for coming in. Great to have you here.
Pleasure, thanks for having me.
See you again soon. That's Daniel Coulson with us, Ray White, Chief Executive.